Welcome back, everybody. We're back for another Code Peterson tutorial with some GB Studio, making our vertical scrolling arcade shooter. And we've been putting enemies into this, but for the most part, they've been stationary, just different attributes for them. In this tutorial, we're going to be adding 3 different types of enemies that are moving different ways throughout the level to add a little more variety and a little more challenge to our game. So let's get this thing rolling. I'm going to go here in GB Studio and go to my sprites section. And then you'll see here we have our assets that we've been building together. And I put all here conveniently in my same Vert Shooter Arcade folder. So first thing I'll do is I will bring in my enemy plane down. And I'll bring in my enemy bomber. And my enemy heli. Perfect. All 3 of those are in there. Now if I find those on the left hand side where it placed them into and I find my enemy plane down, this is going to be a fixed direction in movement. And idle, I can just leave it like that. It's not going to be idle in the game, but that's fine. And for moving, I made this be a 3 frame animation, just like our hero plane we made earlier. So we'll see the propeller or the prop moving around. So that one is done. The second one we have is our enemy bomber. This will be the second one we add to our game. So idle right, idle up, I'm not going to worry about. Idle down, I'm not going to worry about. This one is going to be 4 direction and movement also. Or I'm sorry, this one's going to be fixed 4 directions and movement. There we go. Jeez. And I'll make sure this is checked here. Flight or flip right to create left facing frames. So it's only going to be moving left and right in the game. So I don't need to worry about all of those, but we'll say idle right is going to be like that. And then moving right will do the same thing. Highlight those sprites and we'll add another frame, click and drag. Drag. Perfect. And there we have it. We don't have to worry about making it move left because it's automatically going to switch that for us. Then if we go to our enemy heli, this one is going to be 4 direction plus movement. I don't want to flip right because I don't want the animation to look weird as it's changing directions in there. So idle right is fine like that. Idle left, we don't really need to worry about too much, but if we go here to moving right, I'll bring in my first frame, then my second, and then moving left, I'll do the exact same thing. And then moving up, and moving down. So this way, no matter what direction that this helicopter is moving, it's always going to be facing us. So it'll look a little bit more like it's hovering and to give that effect in there. All right, we should be good with that. So we'll click the drop down menu and go back to the game world. And you'll see I left my enemies that we already created on here, but I kind of moved them out of the way for testing purposes on this. And we will go down here to prefabs and we'll add another actor. And we'll rename it. We'll call this one enemy plane. That'll be the first one we do. The animation here will be our enemy plane down. And the collision group is going to be 1. And on here, I'll say the movement speed. I think 1 will be fine for this right now. And animation speed will have before be a value of 4 on this. I think that'll work too. And then we will go here to on update and we'll add an event. And we want to actor move relative. And then I'm going to choose like 10 on the Y tiles because these planes are just going to be moving forward, going down. And I'll just make sure vertical first, even though it doesn't really matter. And I'm unchecking this keep running while off screen, so that way it's not keeping track of that plane's movement when we pass it, and it's not going to start moving down screen until we're ready for it to on here. Okay, now I will bring the little plus here, and I'll click and bring it here. And I want to double check and make sure this down arrow is there so that the plane is facing the right way and moving the way it's supposed to. So let's save it and see how this looks. And there is our plane. So it gives us something extra to dodge with. I'm not going to have this plane fire at us because it's already kind of moving at a decent speed. And we have these stationary objects that are firing. I think that looks all right. Now, if I go here to my boat and we go here to on hit with the group one, or I'm sorry, on hit with the player, then I can just copy this, right? Copy that script and then go here to my enemy plane, on hit with player, and I'll paste or I'll replace it in there. And so that way we have the camera shake, it subtracts 1 from our lives, and then if our lives is less than or equal to 0, then it takes us to game over. If you're just joining us for the first time and you're like, what the heck is all of that? Just kind of go back for the episode previous to this one and the episode before that one, and we kind of start building that in here. So, feel free to keep watching, but if some of this you're like, I don't even know what you're talking about, we went into that pretty well in depth in the previous tutorials, and they're still on there for you to check out and reach out with any questions you have. All right, so that works good. Then if we go back up here to the boat took 1 hit to destroy. So I want to do the same thing here with the plane. So we'll select our boat and then we'll say on hit with the group 3 object, which is our bullet. And I want to select the boat for that, if you remember, because that's going to give us access to the explosion that we have on there. Then I can copy this script and then I need to select this plane and say on hit with 3 and replace the script. And then make sure this is all how it's supposed to be in here. And then I will save. I'm a little bit surprised it didn't ask me to update it for the prefab. A little surprised, but we'll give it a try and we'll see how this works. Right, so here we go. We'll take this. Our plane should be coming down. The explosion is there. It counts as 1 for our score. Awesome. Now let's try it again. And this time we'll run into it and see if it shakes the screen and takes 1 of our lives away. Screen shake. And lives down to 2. Perfect. Things are moving along rather smoothly. So that is 1 enemy right there. And I'm going to move that kind of to the side right there. And now I want to add a prefab. This will be an actor. And we'll rename this one Enemy Bomber. And this is going to be the enemy bomber here. And we'll give it a movement speed of 1 also, maybe a half, since it's going to be a slower moving plane. I think that would be kind of cool. And then animation speed 4. Collision group, it's a 1 because it's an enemy, and all of our enemies in this particular game are a collision group of 1. And then we will say on update, add an event. This one, we want to move sideways, right? So we'll go in here to move, actor move to relative. And you can move these to particular coordinates, but then if I tell it to go to a specific X and Y, then that's only going to be working for that one particular actor. But if I tell it to move relative to its position, then we can duplicate as many of these planes and they're always going to be moving the direction that they're supposed to be moving to. So that's why I'm doing this that way, in case you were wondering. So this one then we'll just kind of guess a number here. Self enemy bomber, and it's going to move its X coordinates moving to the right. Let's try that out. Tank firing. Our plane flying. Boat. Oh, you know what? Then we just need to add this little plus and add our enemy bomber right here. Now I want to make sure this is facing the right so that it's moving in the proper direction. Let's test it out. There's our tank. Here comes our plane. Now our bomber should be up here, and it is slowly moving across. Awesome. All right, now we obviously want to go here. You know, it's kind of up to you if you want this to be hit multiple times like the tank. That's something you could do, or you could have it be once on there. I don't dislike the idea of incorporating our hitting it twice like we had to with the tank. I think that'd be kind of cool. So we'll select on this and we will look and find on hit with the group 3. That's our bullets, and it applies that local variable we worked on before. That'll work great with this. So we'll copy this and we'll select our plane up here, and then we will paste or replace the script in there. And then we also need to go back to this tank, because when it collides with a player, we want to do the same thing too. So we'll copy that script. The best thing about this is there's a lot of front end work on this, but then, you know, it's rinse and repeat. And it saves you a lot of time in the long run doing it this way. All right, let's try this and see how it looks. Oh, I only hit it once. And you know why? Because we just need to say with this, we did the same thing with the tank. I forgot about it. Our tank, we said on init, set tank HP to 2. I'm going to copy this script and then go back up here. And we need to say on init for the bomber, replace the script. And so there we have a variable for it. And we're just sharing a variable with all of these enemies. Awesome. All right. Press return here. There's one. There's two. Perfect. And then the other thing I was going to try, and it kept track of the score. Awesome. Now I want to run into it and make sure that it can take away a life. Now we have some enemies that are stationary and firing. We have an enemy that's kind of moving down. Gives us something different to aim for. Are we even going to hit this? You'd have to be kind of bad to run into that. But then we have our lives set to 2 now. So it did remove one of our lives. Perfect. Now, that's one way you could have this plane on there. And maybe it wouldn't be bad if we set enemy bomber. And I go here to this enemy bomber. And I rename this one enemy bomber right. So this one's moving to the right. And I don't know if it's going to let us Control C, Control V. It's not going to allow us to duplicate that. I was kind of hoping it would allow us to do that. But that's okay. So then we can just go here just to show you. We could add another prefab, have it be an actor, just like we did. And this is also going to be our enemy bomber. And we'll call this one enemy bomber left. And then this is going to have a movement speed of 1/2 also. And it's going to be a collision group of 1. And then we can just go here to this bomber and we'll say on init. Can copy this and then we'll select our enemy bomber left up here. And we'll replace the script. Then we'll go back over to this left one here and we'll say on hit, and we'll copy this script and we'll go back over to enemy bomber left. On hit with the player, replace the script, then we'll go back here again, back and forth, and we'll go group 3, select this and copy script. And then go back over again to enemy bomber left and replace that script in there. All right, so there's enemy bomber left. We want to click and bring this one over here, and I might just, it will put this one kind of right at the beginning. So it's right there, but I want this one moving to the left, and then this one on update, we're going to say actor move relative, and then this one is going to be for the X tiles. I want it to be to the left, so I'm going to subtract these, and I'll just go -16. And let's see if this works. Perfect. Did it keep track of it? It did. And let's try to run into it also. And it takes away live. So that's if you want, to have your bomber going from the left and from the right. So pretty easy. And now I'll move this just up here out of the way. Same with this one. Kind of give myself some room. I'll move this plane out of the way, and I'm even going to move this tank right now. It's a floating tank. All right, the last one I wanted to do in here, because I feel like this could be something that will be the most fun to play with. So we'll add another prefab, and this is going to be an actor, and this is going to be the enemy heli. So on the update, we'll go add event, and we'll go move relative. 5, and it's going to be moving sideways. And we're not going to worry about the X on that one. Then we can go here and go to copy event and paste event after. And then maybe we can go here, and this is going to move up on the Y 5. And that is going to be moving vertical. And then let's copy this event and paste after. Maybe this one then is going to go -5 and -5. And we'll say this one can move diagonal, just to show you these different options of movement you could have with your enemies. And don't forget to add it to our screen. All right, we'll just start right here and see how this looks. Here's our enemy. So it gives us a little bit of some different movement on there. So maybe for this one, let's try maybe going 7. Then we could say maybe -7 and -7. And then we'll change the speed to 1/2. Let's see how that looks where we're at. I do kind of like that. And then maybe once it gets to the side, then we can do like what we did with this boat. And say on update, we could say it's going to launch a projectile. So we'll go copy event, go back here to our enemy heli, and we'll paste event after. Let's click this and make sure we apply the changes to all our helicopters. See how that looks. So then it shoots one there and it can be kind of rascally there. I don't mind that at all. Maybe one last thing I might try. What if I go 10, -10, -10, and just move it a little bit more to the left there. And then apply changes. Let's see what that does for us. Yeah, I kind of like that. So you can make yours, however you want it to be in that mode. Now, finally, if we go here to this plane, and then we can say on hit, say on hit with a group 3. And we can copy the script, and then we'll go back in here to this, on hit with a group 3, replace the script. And then if we go to our boat and we say on hit with the player, copy the script, go back over here, and then we will replace script. Let's see what that does for us. I'm going to come over here so it can shoot me first with the bullet. Took a life, I ran into it, took 2 lives, awesome. And then we'll try it one more time. And this time we're gonna shoot it down. And the animation of the explosion goes there. Awesome stuff. All right, and there we have it. So we have added 3 new types of enemy today. We had one that just kind of flies down, going straight across after us, and then we have our bombers, which come from the sides, and they're similar to the tank. Takes 2 hits for those. And then we have this helicopter, which kind of takes everything we've learned from all of them. We have moving to different relative coordinates from where it's at, and we also have it to where it is firing bullets. This, I think, is coming together nicely into something that we can create. So kind of use the time between this one and our next tutorial to maybe build some more levels, or if you have some levels built, then you can kind of add these different enemies in different ways. You could, kind of do something like go to our plane here, for example, and add one more. And you can even have a helicopter that maybe moves that same triangle direction, but maybe flips it and goes the other way. You can do however you want that to be. All right. And then you can make kind of these enemies have waves also, like I was saying. So just to show you, I think it'll be a real good way for you to try these out, and then just kind of see where does the game start to slow down and get a little laggy. Like here you see it happens a little bit with those planes. So you just, you have to balance it out to where you don't have too many of those active sprites with each other. And then obviously making sure that they're not still running while off the screen. That's really going to help you out with this too. I think in our next tutorial, we're going to start looking at animating some of these things in the environment. So this doesn't really look like water right now. I have some waves in there and I would like to animate those to kind of look like this is water. And then I believe I have something that we created in an earlier sprite tutorial where some of this grass kind of waves back and forth, some of the plant life on there. So that's kind of what I'm looking at ahead. Ask any questions in the comments. Thank you all so much for watching, and we'll catch you on our next video.